So close, but yet so far away. Hanok, we're in the same city, the same town. But you're in the city limits. I'm out here in the suburbs of beautiful Franklin, North Carolina on a rainy day. Um, is it raining in town there?
Yes, what's really funny is um, uh, one of the pastors that I was staying with recently um, got me into the habit, because I have such trouble sleeping, to set my phone to listen to the sounds of rain and
Uh,
thunder, etc. Does it help? I don't really know. But what's weird is it also sounded like almost like there was an echo. And it wasn't until about an hour and a half ago that I kind of looked through the Venetian blinds, and I'm saying, "Oh, it's actually raining and thundering here. That's fine."
well, see,
So
that's
we're
yeah,
live from Franklin, North
yeah.
Carolina.
And see, those are things that we do. This is, we're kind of full service here with Life Assembly.
Absolutely.
Is that we're trying to save your phone battery, so we just got the rain to come.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem, no problem. So, well, you're here and be speaking this weekend
Yes.
at in Franklin. So, uh, travels behind you, a lot of them.
Well, it's interesting. As many of our listeners know, my daughter Kira, who is currently in New York City, is expecting a child. I mean, January 31st, February 1st. So it's literally at this point any day now.
Yeah.
So I hadn't booked anything that I publicized past the 31st of January, although I've already begun making arrangements to go to Beit Menorah in Winchester, Kentucky, the first Shabbat in February. So everything at this point after January is tentative.
Hmm.
Um, what's interesting is, I of course disdain flying, but that's the quickest way to get around. Of course, assuming there's no, major meltdown
Yeah.
or the FAA doesn't do
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, so what's happening. What's interesting is the various things that I've kind of been observing. Had a chance to attend the Temple Conference in Orlando, and I almost never at a conference have the opportunity to sit back and look
Hmm.
around and try to, overhear people's conversations as much as I did this time. And as I mentioned to you, there are lots of reasons that people come to conferences. Some obviously are interested in the material that's being covered. That's why
Yeah.
they're coming.
Yeah.
For some, it's the opportunity to visit and network with people of like or similar interests. But it dawned on me that there is a substantial number of people, excuse me, there are a substantial number of people that come to conferences and meetings merely to have their own positions validated.
And this is a conversation that you and I had yesterday
We
in the living
did.
room of the house that you're staying in, thanks to one of the folks at Life Assembly, their
Yes.
mom, opened that up
Tremendously
for us.
generous.
So really
Yes.
appreciate that. But you know, th- it's been a long time since I've heard something that has that much truth in it. Hold on, that it really got me thinking about the conferences, the over 20 years of travel that I've done, the countless videos and CDs and podcasts and DVDs and, uh, you know, everything except for 8 tracks, I think. Um, yeah, I'm not quite that old, but I did have cassettes. Um, and it really, if after you talked about that, I just really started thinking about how few people that I have met that have actually come to a conference, a congregation, uh, whether even my own congregation at times. I'm not talking specifically about Life Assembly, but other places,
Right.
that they just came to be affirmed in their own theology. And when I somehow questioned that theology, or brought it into question, their response was pretty much to walk out the door. That's sad.
It's for anyone, both you and you for a much longer period of time, have traveled and spoken to groups. And then afterwards, you kind of running that assessment in your head. Did you touch people? Did they get the message? And what are the follow through steps? When you now frame all of that within the idea of the basic principle of you can't lead someone where they don't want to go.
Yeah.
And if they're coming only to have their views validated, they're basically have their fingers in their ears when you're talking to begin with, because they're only looking for a selective thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my case, I see it on people's faces, because typically among the groups that I speak to, it's like, I'm the Jew. I'm the Jew from Israel. So the people who are not predisposed to getting along with Jewish people, they're the ones that boycott that congregation, that Shabbat, that night, whatever it is. But just yesterday, we had that conversation yesterday, early afternoon.
Yeah.
Several hours later, we both get the Parsha commentary from Rav Nachman Kahana.
Yeah.
Where he spoke about 20 years of writing Parsha commentaries week after week, with the theme of the need for Jews to return to the land of Israel. And he rated his personal tenacity to keep doing that as very high. And he rated his ability to get the message across to people to change their lives as very minimal.
He actually went through and said that 20 years he has tried to be faithful regarding putting out these emails. And of course, Nachman Kahana is the brother of Mir Kahana, who you studied under. I read much of his writings, and was from where I stand, is a fascinating man. Nachman Kahana, of course, I have, and you have issues with him in that, his parashah of, like, for this week, well, when the Jews came out of Egypt, okay, it's like, excuse me, I think that there was more than just the tribe of Judah, at least from the Torah that I read. So he's one that kind of lumps everyone of Israel into, well, you have to be a Jew. Okay. Yeah. And you and I have agree on our
absolutely,
what we don't agree with him on, but whatever. So what he said is that, over these years, he tried to be faithful to write something every single week, which, as he looked at it, would be about 1,000 commentaries.
Yeah.
I don't know if people really understand what it takes to do that on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
The time that it takes to do recordings like that, to do writings like that, every week faithfully, when a lot of times, you're kind of like, is anybody listening? Hello. But I find it the most fascinating thing that he said was, for those that haven't listened to my voice, there's other voices that are going to come that you will listen to. The voices of anti-Semitism, etc.
It's what's interesting to me is this conference that I went to recently was in Orlando. Orlando has a number of kosher restaurants. So I was able, as is very unusual for me, to go out. And so what's interesting to me is to kind of step out of myself and see how I react to members of the local modern Orthodox Jewish community who were eating at the next tables and stuff. And, I'm seeing them, with, 4 or 5 kids, whatever it might be. And I'm thinking, what the heck are you guys doing here?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like going to work out at Franklin Health and Fitness, and having the receptionist like be so fascinated with my, as she referred to it, as my northern accent, having grown up in the Bronx in New York City, northern accent.
Yeah.
So I said to her, of course, bless your heart, and then I explained how there's a different understanding of bless your heart. I don't think she ever heard that before, but it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell people that I'm actually from Israel, I actually did recently encounter someone who had never heard of Israel. Okay, she was a relatively recent immigrant from Asia, but she kept saying, never heard of Israel. In United States? And I'm thinking, whoa, I better pull this hat down a little tighter because my head's going to blow up.
Well, there are those that believe the United States is Israel. So, I mean, she was on the right track there.
Well, but it is funny. And having been to Israel for as many times as you have, to have brought over as many groups as you have, to me, I'm still startled when people say, well, do you have are you just using your health club membership from Israel here? I mean, don't you have a membership at Planet Fitness? I'm like, Israel's another country, guys. It's not like South Carolina compared to North Carolina.
Yeah.
It's we're a different country. So that's on. So okay, perfect segue.
And by the way, I'm thinking about you going to a kosher restaurant in Orlando would be like me going to Cracker Barrel on Sunday at 1:00. Just,
It's if you can view it as kind of a cultural anthropology
yeah.
of kind of like viewing the American Jew in his or her native habitat, and of course you go into these restaurants and what's on the menu: falafel, hummus, and people I'm with say, Hanoch, you gonna get the hummus? No, I don't think so, kids. I don't think so. So segueing into Israel. Just this morning, I open up my little eyes, I see that it's raining, and I check the news from Israel. That's what I do every day. And of course, there was an attempted stabbing attempt at the Jewish community of Kidumim in Sharon, in Samaria. The terrorist was shot dead by IDF soldiers. Now, what people need to understand, those listening to us, this is part of the Palestinian Authority's Pay for Slay program.
Yeah.
This is an integral part of the Constitution of the Palestinian Authority, is they will support the families of anyone who tries to kill or, God forbid, succeeds in killing Israelis. And it is amazing that for all these years, we've played these nonsensical games that there are partners for peace. I mean, Oslo is almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
And, there are various points in my life when I've gotten into serious debt. And then, of course, I reached the point of COVID with 2 years of not working. And then I got to revisit it once again. But the idea is, if you're an Arab who identifies his or herself as a so-called Palestinian, which would be like, I identify as a citizen of Never Never Land, if they go and are shot dead, they're hopelessly in debt, they're not supporting their family, they've got mental, whatever it is, it's like, yo, I can kill a Jew, and my family will be supported for life. It's an insurance policy that they cash in.
And the dirty truth of that is some of those dollars come from America.
Yeah,
They come from the European Union, and
absolutely.
even through Israel support of in various ways, the Palestinian Authority continues to rake in. So if in the United States, if you get in debt, you go to the bank and you get a consolidation loan or you get a second equity loan.
You get a
In
payment
Israel,
plan. Yeah,
you
yeah,
just go out and take a
kill a
knife
Jew. Yeah,
and attack a Jew, and your family's taken care of. They're gonna take care of burying you and everything, and life goes on. What a crazy way of living.
and it's interesting. The two presentations, the two PowerPoint presentations that I've come to the U.S. With are totally focused on educational ones. In other words, walking people through the actual history, the actual borders, through various points in history to understand. And the title of the first one is How Did We Get Here? Because there is a tremendous gap in people's knowledge. And I feel one of the knowledge, skills, and abilities that I have been blessed with is to teach this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of uniquely qualified to be able to do this. And what's funny is, and I think I mentioned this to you before a couple of times, I'll post up where I'm going to be, and then people will start saying, "Hey, how come you're not coming to Texas?" Or, "Hey, what about are you passing through Alabama?" Or, "Hey, no, guys, that conversation is when I post up, I'm looking to come to America in 2 months. If you and your congregation would like to host me, I don't do a lot of, first of all, I don't drive here.
Yeah.
I don't even have a current American license. And it's not like I'm saying, like, okay, there are those mutual friends of ours who've come to America who don't set up anything in advance and do it based on, as they describe it, divine appointments. So people call, when it's when it's costing me thousands of dollars to fly here, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So just people look for the Facebook post and everything else on Hanok's next trip here. Would be the great thing to do. So this whole thing about the history of Israel you're doing,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. People, though, I'm expecting this Shabbat to learn a lot on this because I feel like I probably know the history of Israel fairly well, but there's probably a lot of gaps in there that I'm not aware of, that I'm looking forward to seeing. Because if we can understand the history of, I think if we can understand the history of the natural land of Israel, we'll be able to further understand the history, or the history that's being played out today of the
Exactly.
people called Israel.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not an abstract of between 1725 and 1830 this happened. No. And it's a sense to, you'll understand the situation when people call for a so-called Palestinian state. You'll understand who was where and when. And there are a couple of myths that we all hold based on what we've been told and taught over the
Mm-hmm.
years. And I'm going to kind of just blow up a little bit, but gently,
Hmm.
gently.
Okay.
This is gentle.
So let's go back to our conversation that we had yesterday
Yes, sir.
about this thing of people that go to just validate what they already believe. Um, how does a person, this is one of those. I mean, we didn't talk about this as far as being on this program. So here's the question that I have to ask myself is that I put a post out yesterday on Facebook that said something about, if in order to know something, you have to want to know it. You have to have a desire to know.
Absolutely.
And that post got a lot of response to it. I guess my question is this: how do I keep from being that person?
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, there's a question for you.
Okay. As I was laying in bed last night, trying to figure out if the sounds of rain was the real rain or the recorded rain, I don't know. I think people have to remember, what are they in this whole thing for? If the whole thing of what we study and what we do is based on our relationship to Hashem and understanding his will, what he wants for us in our life, if we keep remembering that's the key phrase and keep pushing everything that we're hearing, reading, or studying or talking about through that filter. Someone asked me recently, what are your thoughts about the Nephilim? I said, I don't have any. It's never interested me to study it.
Yeah.
Now, sadly, that's a tremendous conversation stopper. It's like, what's your follow-up? I mean, I don't, if you remember many years ago, the movie Animal House, Faber College, the motto of Faber College on the statue is knowledge is good. There are some people who will go to conferences and meetings, fill up entire spiral notebooks of notes, then they go home and they got a stack of spiral notebooks full of, and they never cross-correlate what any of that stuff means.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are so focused on taking copious notes, you are not hearing the speaker.
Oh, and I know people,
but not listening.
Yeah, I know people that do want to take a lot of notes, and not to step on those toes, but I find that those that there's one thing about writing down some very basic notes, but when you're writing something,
I'm not talking about that. No.
I mean, there are some things that you just kind of jot down and and then go back, and if you're really interested, you get the the MP3 or
you get
whatever
the recording of it. Sure,
but
of course
it's true that the human brain cannot do writing and listening.
Nope.
I guess that maybe there's a few people, but for the vast majority, you cannot write down a thought and listen to a thought at the same time.
Or if you can, you're not pausing for a second to say, wow, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Here's something that was a statement that was given. This was many moons ago, as I was teaching Sunday school in an Assembly of God church, and ended up being gone for a week. And the guy that filled in for me, they told me about what he had said, and the one thing that he said was this: we need to be people that understand that when you hear something that is new to you, you don't have to make a decision on it immediately.
Bam. Drop the microphone on that one.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh my God, that means I now need to do a cartwheel right at the ending of Shabbat, because Shabbat will never end for me unless I do the cartwheel.
Yeah. Think through that one a little bit, especially if you're older, because you're gonna hurt something or break something. So that's one thought. Let me answer my question like this. When is the last time, going back in your mind, when's the last time that you were listening to something, a speaker, a podcast, or whatever it is, and you felt yourself getting angry, but you didn't know why.
See, I often get angry, but I almost always know why, because you know,
Okay, okay. Let me rephrase
so
this.
I'm not a good person for that, Mike.
Let me rephrase this to the Hanok version. You listened to something and you became angry, and there was no rational purpose for it.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Guilty as charged.
that's
Guilty as
the
charged.
Hanok version of that.
But there's also, there's a tied in with that. I often feel a level of frustration. It's like, I've heard you speak many times, and I look around the room and I say, how can these guys now not be on fire? How come they're not running over to you with their cash deposit in hand saying, I must be on the next Connect to Israel experience?
Yeah.
That's the, and so I get angry because there are a lot of teachers. Not all of them are worth the time to listen to. You always are. But you go back to the basic rule, and I learned this from a vice president of operations when I worked for Johnson & Johnson Company. Gosh, a long time ago. Little asterisk. The guy's name was Jeff Nugent, the brother of Ted Nugent of Cat Scratch Fever fame. Anyway, he used to say, you cannot lead someone where they don't want to go.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a throwaway line of let's not confuse the issue with facts kind of thing, but it's really true. And that's why no matter how much, I mean, this is now trip number 27, I believe, for me to America. I still struggle with how can they not have heard, or since August 2013, when this whole gig started for me, how can someone tell me I have not yet started my Israel Fund? They've listened to me maybe 6 or 8 times over the years, coming to their group. They constantly tell, I don't have the money to go with you and Mike to Israel on the Connect to Israel tour. Hey, do you guys have an Israel Fund? Do you guys have a current passport? Without those little elements, don't keep saying, I am waiting for the Lord to make a way. He's made a way.
Yeah.
He's given you enough health to go and work.
And see, this is what what brought me a lot of comfort, I guess, when talking or when reading this article by Nachman Kahana.
Yes.
Is that it doesn't matter if you're dealing with Messianic Hebrew roots, whatever, or a Christian church or Jewish people in America, or I mean, this is a people problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, but we personally need to be part of the solutions, not part of the problems.
Yes.
And this is where I think I need to make my own my own resolution of of trying to listen more. As a teacher, it's very easy to just kind of put things in little boxes along the way. That's kind of what we do, but learning from day to day is one of the greatest things that humans have been given, is the ability to learn. But in order to learn, there are also things you must unlearn.
Very, very true. Very true. And
well, from Franklin, North Carolina, we've pretty well solved every issue there is.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to be left to talk about next week. But by the way, notice our internet connection is great. Unlike so I'm starting to realize now, what people may be thinking is, well, obviously Hanoch needs to be in Franklin, North Carolina more often. I'm willing to do that. Got lots of friends in Franklin, North Carolina. Lovely. But maybe we'll get you to Israel a little more often and also be in close proximity for the internet. I'm willing, I'm willing to compromise.
Okay, I got that. I'll go with that one. On the thought of you coming to Franklin more, let me consult Kaya.
I love it.
Yeah, we made your bed the other day in your room. Also, that room is claimed by numerous people. But first thing Kaya did was go in there and kind of walk around like, I hope it's not that guy.
Yeah, I without a doubt, it's very hard to read a dog's mind, but in this case, I am certain that's exactly what's running through her head, without a doubt.
It is. It is. So, oh well.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Mike, have a good one. I guess well, I'll see you tomorrow for sure.
Actually, you got to go work out, and
Yes.
so I'll probably be in Franklin later on. So if you hear a knock at the door, you might want to look through the peephole and see who it is.
Ah, always. Listen, have a great one.
All
And
right.
shalom to everybody out there.